Good morning. Thank you, Jostein, for that warm introduction. I did not expect a standing ovation. I will say that a few years ago, if you had announced that I was going to talk about the future of the energy system, most of you would go for the coffee machine. I think everyone now knows that it's a pretty interesting time to be talking about what's going on in utilities. Accenture is just completing some comprehensive research we call the digitally enabled grid, and I want to share with you some of the high points of that in the few minutes that I have. And it's focused specifically on what's happening to utilities, what will the future look like as we might envision it, and what role will storage play in that future. First, the status quo assumptions of load growth in the United States are probably wrong. We see technology adoption causing a reduction of revenue of approximately $18 billion in the United States in the next 10 years, and as much as $48 billion, based on the status quo plans that are made in the states today. The larger scenario represents represents a so-called death spiral. That is a perfect storm of conditions that cause customers to defect from the electricity grid. We don't see that as a likely scenario for many reasons, including basic economics and the natural limitations of distributed generation. However, what is likely true is that the demand for electricity is being permanently altered by technologies as simple as efficient light bulbs, thermostats, and solutions like solar and fuel cells. Today, 60% of executives believe some form of the death spiral will transpire in the next 10 years, which is frankly a remarkable statistic in and of itself. So why is this important? First, these changes are forcing utilities and regulators to consider new models. This picture represents some of the choices we think need to be made. On the vertical, it represents the utility shifting from its traditional role, as Jostein described, of a transportation company moving energy from one place to another, and moving to what's called a distributed platform integrator, a true network optimizer. The move to the utility being a platform integrator, which is being considered in several states even as we speak today, represents a major change in the role of the utility. To the right are ways that utilities may expand the services they provide beyond the commodity in search of additional growth, much like we saw with telecom companies expanding their businesses after the emergence of voice-over IP technology over a decade ago. 60% of utility executives that we interviewed worldwide expect to provide distributed generation solutions to their customers, and 77% expect to see the development of microgrids or localized production and management of energy on their own facility in their networks within the next 5 years. That number is double what executives believed just last year. So what does this mean? As I said, executive perceptions have changed in the last year fairly dramatically. They see the variety of strategies they will need in order to deal with the development of distributed generation, including especially grid automation and advanced analytics. And the majority, 58%, now expect to employ storage to help integrate distributed sources of energy. We see energy storage more broadly based on changes happening across the value chain. We recently published a piece called The Digital Utility, and we expect that energy storage is part of several ways that utilities will become more digital, not only integrating distributed generating sources at the ends, but becoming more intelligent grid operators, leading to greater efficiency in generation, optimization of commercial trading, and obviously as part of distributed solutions that utilities may provide. In 1992, an executive named Chris Krause asked me if I knew what distinguished electricity from every other product on Earth. And she said, it's because you can't store electricity. Storage represents a potential breakthrough for utilities because it changes the intermittent nature of supply and the transient nature of demand for electricity, which frankly changes everything. And so it underlies some of the most important changes in how the grid will operate in the future, as it can contribute, and we expect it to contribute to better optimization, greater efficiency, and better overall economics for the grid. Jostein, congratulations to your team on the launch. I thank you for the opportunity to speak.